DreAllDay.com.
Dre Baldwin, DreAllDay.com. I want to talk a little bit about what's going on with cancel culture, because I just saw something that really, and I had a few minutes to process it, and it really started to blow my mind where we're at right now as far as discourse on certain subjects and topics. I was not even planning to record this video, but I was eating something and I was just browsing through Twitter. And Twitter is usually where I get my news from and just see what's going on. I look at what's trending, just see how people are talking. And this woman named Maureen Dowd was trending. Now, I don't even know who Maureen Dowd is, or I didn't know. I know who she is now. She's a journalist, and she wrote an op-ed piece in the New York Times about Barack Obama. Now, we know Obama was not president anymore. He just had his birthday, and he threw a birthday party at, where was it? Martha's Vineyard. I think it was Martha's Vineyard. He had his birthday party. Doesn't matter where. But we all know right now we're allegedly in the middle of a pandemic. Let's just say we're in the middle of a pandemic. So there's not a lot of gatherings happening, or if there is gatherings, then there's all these regulations, and everybody, maybe in certain places you might have to be vaccinated, everybody has to wear masks, or whatever the hell is going on. We know there's all the kinds of regulation, any kind of gathering you want to have. So Obama's birthday party was coming up. He was turning 60, and somehow the news got out that this party was about to occur. Now, the Obamas, allegedly, according to what I heard, they have a house in Martha's Vineyard. Nice house. So they were going to have all these friends. It was going to be a big time party. I mean, your 60th birthday party is a big deal. And if you're as known as Barack Obama is, you probably got a lot of people that you could have on the guest list. So the idea got out, or the story got out, that this party was going to occur a few days before the party. So because of Obama's a politician, so he had to play the political game. So when the news came out that he was having this big party with all these people, then the counter news came out that he was scaling down the party. That a bunch of people that were invited to the party became disinvited. They got uninvited from the party because he had to make the guest list smaller, not because he actually wanted to, because if he wanted the guest list to be smaller, it would have been smaller from the beginning. He made the guest list smaller because politically it would have made him look kind of bad. How you gonna have this big party with all these people when your subjects, the people that you were president of for 8 years, they can't even do gatherings, and people are being excluded from stuff, and they're telling their kids they got to get vaccinated and wear masks in school, and some people can't go to the grocery store because they don't have a vaccine, and the majority of the biggest group that does not have the vaccine right now are black people, and nobody's talking about that on the news. Obama knows it, so he knew it would have looked bad for him to have this big party, so he had to put out some news, put out a counter piece again that we're scaling down our party. So he ended up having a party anyway. And if any of you follow anything that happens, again, I don't watch the news, but I do follow social media, and so that's where I get my news from. So I saw a clip on Twitter that Erykah Badu, who was at the party, she posted on her Instagram story, or whatever story she posted on. She posted a short video inside the party. Now, there's been back and forth arguments with people that I see on social media about how this party went down. People are like, well, it was an outdoor party and everybody was vaccinated. That's not true, because people were, suggested to be vaccinated, but it's not like you had to show vaccine papers to get into Obama's party. That is not true. So everybody was not vaccinated. And was the party outdoors? The party was in tents. So they had all the parties, they had this big tent that everybody was inside. Does a tent count as outdoors, or does it count as indoors? It's kind of like in between. I guess we call it a hybrid of outdoor and indoor. And I think one of the main reasons they had that tent, of course, it's summertime to protect from the elements, but also so that helicopters going above couldn't get pictures of how many people were actually in the party. I think that's the reason that they did it, but that's just my theory. Who knows if that's the reason? But anyway, Erykah Badu posted a little clip in the party, and Obama's on stage dancing, and Badu does not have a mask on. Obama doesn't have a mask on. There's a bunch of people in there. They're dancing, having a good time at a party, where otherwise that would be innocuous and nobody would care. But because of the pandemic that we're allegedly in, this guy, who is, I guess we could say Obama is an elite, however you define that. He's been president. He's made himself a lot of money. He can do things that the common person wouldn't be able to put together at this time. It kind of looked bad. I'm not even saying that it was bad. I personally really don't give a damn he had a party or not. But to a lot of people who get involved in this stuff and they talk about this stuff, especially people who follow politics very closely, I can understand that this does not look good. It's a bad look for him. The optics of it just don't look good for Obama. Even though he's not president anymore, he still wants to have a good reputation with the people. So this just didn't look good that he's having this party. Nobody has a mask on. And there are a bunch of people who can't do certain things. There are people who own homes who can't collect on rent because of the eviction moratoriums. And just people's lives are just not in a good space right now. He's having a party with all these people at his $10 million mansion on Martha's Vineyard. And while at the same time telling everybody else, put your mask on, get a vaccine. So it kind of seems like he's not practicing what he preaches. Again, not in a technical point-for-point thing, but again, just the optics of it. Y'all, I know most of you are critical thinking individuals, but if you really just look at the picture of what he is saying and what the messages he's supporting versus the optics of having that party where people don't have a mask on and they're just having a good old time while his subjects aren't able to do a lot of, they don't have a lot of these freedoms to do the things that he's doing, it just doesn't look good. So that's the point. So anyway, this woman named Maureen Dowd, she's a writer for New York Times. I don't know much about Maureen, but she wrote an article basically saying exactly what I just said, talking about how Obama has this party, and they said, this is the counter news that came out. It said in the counter news that from Obama's side of the story, let's say, they put out that, we're going to trim down the guest list to only close friends and family. But then you see people like Erykah Badu at the party, Don Cheadle, John Legend, Beyonce, Jay-Z. All right, so, okay, whatever you want to call that. Are they Obama's close friends? We don't know. But as a party, he's somebody, he wants to have certain people there. Again, I don't give a damn who he has on the guest list at his party. But again, you got to think about the people who are really into this stuff and they really get into these back and forths and all that. So the party happens, and Maureen Dowd wrote about how a lot of the people that got cut from the guest list were the people who actually helped Obama get to the position that he's in. In other words, the people who stuck their necks out and really helped him get elected in the first place. Because many of you may not remember, when he was first trying to get the Democratic nomination, he was going up against Hillary Clinton, whose husband had just finished being president less than 10 years before that. She had way more experience and way more clout within the Democratic Party than Obama had. So how did he end up beating her? Yes, he was popular. Yes, he had some grassroots help, but it was also a lot of political stuff that needed to occur that most of us don't know about that allowed him to win. And she wrote about in that article how a bunch of those people who helped him do those things politically, they got cut off the guest list at the party. Now, she was just drawing a picture here. She was drawing a picture for her bigger point, which is Obama's kind of looking like he's looking down on these peasants who can't do stuff while he's having this big party and didn't even remember the people who helped him go from being a peasant to being one of the, quote-unquote elites. Now, all that being said, here's what actually got me to think about what led to this video. Is I was just looking at the responses to the article. When the article got posted in New York Times, obviously very big paper, used to be known as a paper record. I don't call it that anymore because they have shown that they were heavily biased against anything that had to do with Donald Trump or anything that had to do with anything conservative. They couldn't say anything positive about the guy no matter what he did. They always found a negative angle towards it, and which is fine if that's the way you want to present yourself. But New York Times always looked at themselves as the paper of record. In other words, you just want to know straight up what's happening and you want someone to think critically about it and break it down, dissect it for you. You will read the New York Times. They they completely lost that title between 2015 and now because they went so hard against him. And I understand it because Donald Trump would trash the New York Times, but they lost all their objectivity in the process of going back and forth with him, and they haven't gotten it back yet. But anyway, Maureen Dowd comes and she puts this article out, and she's being critical of Obama. And the New York Times actually published this article. It was actually surprising to me. And I even tweeted this. I said, New York Times need to put out more things like this where they show someone being, in their own way, critical of both sides of a conversation so that we can start to see the New York Times as an actual objective entity again, instead of being they've been going so hard for it's not even necessarily Democrat, but let's just say woke argument, the woke side of things. It's not even about a certain political party. It's just the wokeness. They've gone so hard on the wokeness that you know what you're going to get from them anytime they put something out. So it was actually surprising that not only they allowed this to be published, but then they publicized it. So anyway, I'm looking at the responses, and people are just going hard at Maureen Dowd. And there were 3 specific responses that came up based on what Maureen Dowd said about Barack Obama and his party. Number 1, people said, well, Maureen you're supposed to be a liberal, but here you are saying something negative about Barack Obama and his party. That was one response, and we're going to come back to that. Second response was people saying, well, Maureen Dowd, they would pull up something that she did in the past. Like, oh, well, you were supporting the Me Too movement, but you also trashed Monica Lewinsky. Or like basically trying to point out any type of negative thing that she did in the past to basically discredit anything that she was saying right now. And that's the second response. So keep that in mind. So number one was, you're supposed to be on our side. How could you say something against anyone on our side? Number two is pulling up anything that she did in the past that was quote unquote wrong to discredit what she's doing today. And number three was people saying, oh, well, Maureen Dowd is white, Barack Obama is black, therefore, because she's criticizing the black guy, she's racist. Those are the three responses that we got. So one is, you're supposed to be on our side, you're a traitor. Two is discredit her, pulling up anything in her past that they think is wrong, and so that anything she does now doesn't matter. And three, she's racist because she's white, criticizing a black person. This is where we're at with cancel culture right now. This is where cancel culture stands. That anytime you come out with anything that is going against what the consumer, that means the person watching your video, or the person who saw your tweet, or the person who read your article or your book or heard your speech, if they disagree with the general premise of where you're coming from or where you're going with your content, if they disagree with it, they're going to try to cancel out what you said. Maybe not cancel your whole career, but they're going to cancel out what you said. And these are usually the three tactics that they use, because these are the three that I saw. And I didn't even look at everything people were saying, but I just kept seeing these same things. And it's another interesting thing that you could draw your own conclusions from is why Twitter allowed this article to trend, because I think they had a pretty good idea of kind of response it was going to get. And this was the general response that I was seeing to this article. So this is what people are going to try to do to cancel you, or at least cancel your idea, or cancel your opinion, or cancel any type of possible credibility you could have for saying what you said. They're either going to say something like, you're supposed to be on this side, so how could you be a traitor and not stay with us and not go along the party line? So there was somebody who said, well, the Maureen Dowd is supposed to be a liberal, but here she is putting out a hit piece on Obama. It wasn't a hit piece. She was just being critical of the fact that he had a party. Doesn't mean that she doesn't like Obama. Doesn't mean that she didn't vote for him. Who knows if she did. Doesn't mean that she's not still a Democrat or a liberal. And she might be the most woke person on the planet. Doesn't mean you can't possibly criticize somebody who's on quote unquote your side if they did something that you think is wrong. That's just called being objective, or at least trying to be objective. No human being is completely objective, but it's trying to be objective. There's nothing wrong with that. But this is what people are doing in cancel culture. You're supposed to be on our side, so you're not allowed to say anything that could possibly go against our side. Makes no sense whatsoever, but this is the way people are thinking. The second way that people try to cancel you is to try to they try to discredit you. All right, the discrediting, which is, all right, this person said this thing, and you don't say anything about the thing that they actually talked about, like Maureen Dowd talking about Obama's party. Let's not talk about that. Let's talk about how, 10 years ago she said this. So since she said this 10 years ago, what she says today doesn't matter. Or since she wrote this article 5 years ago and we hated this article, now that gives us good reason to just ignore anything that she says today, even though what she said today had plenty of substance within it. So this is the second way people try to discredit you in cancel culture, is they'll pull up anything that you have done in the past or said in the past, or anything they can hold against you just in their own mind, so that they can reconcile ignoring what you say today. So what you say today, they can't criticize it at all. They're just going to come up with some ad hominem reason to destroy you or attack you, at least in their own mind, so that they don't have to deal with the substance that you put out right now. Oh, so you did this wrong thing 15 years ago, so what you said today, forget it. We don't even have to listen to it. Remember, everybody, this person did this 15 years ago. We don't have to listen to what they said right now. And people are going along with this, which is crazy to me. And the third one is, it's a race thing. Because we know everybody's making race a big deal today. Social media is amplifying this. So if any situation where you have a person of color is being criticized or attacked, or they are the recipient of any type of critical assessment, then we just label that racism, even if it's coming from a black person. If I was the one who wrote that article, they say, oh, well, you just hate black people. All right, you hate your own race. If it's a white person doing it, they'll just say, oh, she's a racist. She's criticizing Obama. She's a racist. And Obama is an easy person to defend as a target of racism, simply because he's the only black guy who's ever been president. So people say, oh, Well, they're only criticizing him because you see the language that they use to criticize the only black person who's ever been president. So anytime you criticize Obama, you just criticize him because he's the only black guy who's been president. These are the elements of cancel culture that are being used over and over and over again. And I'm making this video not even to try to convince you to not do it. Hopefully none of you are doing it. I'm assuming if you're watching this video, you're a critical thinking individual, and once you hear me talk about this, maybe you thought about it already, maybe you notice it, understand it, and you agree with exactly what I'm saying here. Maybe it's the first time that you thought about it, but I want you to just be aware of these cancel culture tactics that people are going to try to use anytime they disagree with you. So I'm going to tell you one more time the 3 ways they're going to try to disagree. They're either going to make it something about race, if you're a different race of that person, or the person that you're critiquing happens to be of a protected group. And this could be, actually, doesn't even have to be race. This could be a woman, it could be LGBTQ, it could be black, it can be Asian, it can be not so much Jewish. Let's just say those groups right there. So basically anybody other than a straight white male, if you criticize them, then people are going to try to use the protected group cancel defense against you. That's one. And number 2 is they're going to try to discredit you, basically take something that happened to you or you did or you allegedly did in the past and try to use that as a reason to not have to listen to you right now, or try to encourage other people to not listen to you now because of this other negative thing you did in the past. Or number 3, they're going to say you're a traitor. You're supposed to be on this side, but you're not doing what you're supposed to do as a member of this side. As a member of this side, you're not allowed to criticize anybody on our side. Everything you say has to be critical of that side, and if you don't do that, you're wrong. And listen, the New York Times is guilty of this. The New York Times has gone so hard, again, in support of the wokeness and against anything that possibly sounds like conservatism, anything that possibly could come from a Republican or anybody who was in support of or on the side of anything involving Trump, that they have lost their objectivity to the point that they're no longer the paper of record because they went so hard in being so partisan in their ideas. And I want to make sure the few of you who are critical thinkers who still remain, you understand that it's okay to be in support of a side, but at the same time you can be critical of it if you feel like they did something wrong. You could be against the side, but at the same time, if they have a good idea, you can say, you know what, I don't agree with everything that this side is about, but that right there is a good idea. A critical thinker is capable of doing this. And a person who is at least trying to be objective, because again, no human being can be completely objective, is willing to do these things. But in the cancel culture world that we have, so many people are being indoctrinated to not even be willing to think along these lines. This is why it's getting so crazy out here. And so I gotta, every now and then, make a video like this and put the material out that I put out to hopefully help. We gotta basically create a support group for the few of us who still remain to maintain our presence of mind out here as things get more and more crazy, more and more polarized, and we lose more critical thinkers to the dark side. So hopefully this helps some of you out there. You let me know what you think. Any of you who read the article or you know anything about Obama's party and the way that they tried to defend the backlash that was coming against it. And I still haven't heard Obama say anything publicly since that party, but I think it's going to be some kind of snarky remark. You know how Obama can get, and I like Obama. I voted for Obama twice, by the way. But he does get kind of snarky when he's criticized. He has a pretty good, clever reply that he usually gives. So I'm interested to hear what he says when he finally does speak next time he comes out about the party, because somebody's going to ask him about it. But anyway, that's where I stand on all of it. It's really about cancel culture. It's not really about Obama. And happy birthday to Obama. But anyway, if you have not yet claimed your free copy of my newest book, Third Day, The Decision That Separates the Pros from the Amateurs, I'll give you the book for free. All you're going to do is cover the shipping. Go to thirddaybook.com. The book's free. Just cover the shipping. And send me a text. Tell me the best idea or insight you got from this video right here. My number is down below. It is 305-384-6894. Work on your game. Dre all day.